Hey everybody, this is Perch. There's things that I don't understand that people get hung up about, people get worked up about, I get mail about, angry comments about, and I don't understand them. That doesn't mean that I disrespect what people are saying, even if I don't have to understand it to at least offer you the basic decency of trying to respect what it is that you say. And hopefully that's returned. Probably not most of the time, but hopefully it's returned. So one of the things, and I've done a video about it now more recently, is this entire idea of who's forcing you to read the comics, and that led to several comments, several mails. But I have a lot of mails around this, where I'm just going to read you one, and I'll we'll get into it. This is a behavior. It's a point of view I don't understand. I'm sympathetic to it, but I don't understand it, and I'm curious to get your take on it. So mail goes like this. Uh, hey Perch, I hear your videos about closing your wallet and talking about just don't buy it if you don't like it. Except it's not that simple. I've been buying into Spider-Man for 25 years. I was buying Spider-Man when Todd McFarlane showed up to the scene, and they were incredible. It was incredible. That Spider-Man was dynamic and action-packed. Eric Larson did some issues, several others did after that. It was always a good story. Then Marvel seemed to not want my business. They took away the Peter Parker-Mary Jane relationship. They put Dan Slott on the comic, and Dan Slott seemed to hate the character more than like him, and even more, seemed to hate the fans. I bought into this comic for years. I feel like I'm owed that comic to be better. What else was my investment for? If I'm buying into a comic and the company is pushing me to become a collector, don't I have some rights to have the comic be what I was sold? Otherwise, this is just false advertising. The same thing could be true with the Avengers, with the Justice League, with Batman, with Superman, and so on. Nobody asked for Superman to be gay, yet now he is gay. Isn't this disrespecting all of the viewers and all of the people who bought into this comic over the years? I'm hung up by the word viewers again. I've said this before. I'm a readers guy, anyway. I know I'm on the opposite end of this medium. So now it's just they're screwing with my brain. It's going both ways. Anyway, bought into the medium. If I am buying a comic book regularly, then I think I am owed a piece of it. And I am certainly owed for the comic book to continue based on the premise in which it was sold. Interested to hear your take on this. Thank you very much for the content, so on. So, to me, I can't wrap my head around that. Again, no offense to the writer, no offense to people who feel this way, and I know several of you do. But this is a corporate product. You don't own it. It's not yours. And I realize that statement often gets thrown out to kind of attack fans. It's like, oh, you don't like it? Well, screw you. It's not yours. That's often how these things are debated. That's how people shout them out. But it is true. They're owned by giant corporations. They're not owned by you. And the only power you have in this situation, well, I guess you have two routes. One very, very difficult, one very easy. The very easy one is, as I mentioned, close your wallet. Stop buying it. If you stop buying it, and enough people stop buying it, it will either revert, then you put the choice back on the comic publisher. Either they'll go, no, I'm committed to this brand new status quo and I'm not going back for it. I don't care if I go out of business. And then, they go out of business. Or they go, whoop, we made a mistake and we change. And comic history has shown both are true. Now, to be fair, and I'm branching quite a bit here, every now and then the readers send a clear message of what they want to see in the comic with their wallets. And I would say up until 94, generally speaking, comic companies, reacted to that. I don't know about cheerfully, but, with respect, like, hey, the customers are telling us something. We better pivot. We better change. They didn't hold a grudge. It felt like when the Image guys bolted from Marvel and went to Image, and people like Bob Harris started tinkering around with the X-Men. They just started doing whatever they wanted with the comics, and it tanked. It felt like at that moment, the company actually started to hold a grudge. I would argue, and it's a whole topic for another video, that in around the mid 90s, Marvel transformed into a different company. A company that went from, hey, we respect the customers to, hey, not screw the customers exactly. That's way too strong. But I definitely think there became a little bit of an edge. Marvel pivoted and did the Heroes Reborn stuff, and at times would give the customers back what they were asking for with their dollars, but they always seemed pissed doing so. Again, after about the mid 90s, that image, and I've mentioned this in a previous video, and it's the God honest truth. I've talked to people at Marvel who were not born when the image revolution hit. And they bring up, it's like, yeah, we can't have another one of those image situations. That really screwed us. Like, you were not even alive back then. It's like the grudge is being carried by people who have come into the company long after this. This is where I would love to interview one of the Image Six and throw that story to them. Like, do you find it amazing that there's people at this company who, to this day, hate the fact this went on? Again, people aren't born yet. That baffles me in many ways. But back to the kind of the original topic. Yeah, I was said you had two ways to do it. You could close your wallets and basically say, you know what, I don't know if this is going to cause the comic to tank or not, or fail or not, but I'm tired of funding it, so I'm out. Now, the consequences people bring up is like if you've deeply, dearly loved, say, Spider-Man, it's a divorce for you as a customer. And I do think that the comic publishers misunderstand this. If you are a collector of 20, 30, 40 years, by the way, if you're a collector for 25 years, I don't think that works. I think if you say you came in on Todd McFarlane, you're a collector for 30 plus years. But anyway, that's me being a math nerd. I get that you invested a lot of your money and your time, and in many cases, it's more than your money. It's actually your emotion, your time into this stuff. And suddenly it's a radically different story. And I think the publishers and the creators misjudge that emotional attachment. I think they take it for granted. Another way that I think the comic writers were not well, I'm going to just say better. That's unfair because there's a lot of good comic writers out there today. But as a whole, I think there is generally a deeper respect for the idea that comics, were meant something to people, and it was a strong responsibility. Today, it does not feel the same. Anyway, the harder, as I said, two routes. One, close your wallet. The second one is find a way into that company, get into a position of leadership, and change it for the better. That's astronomically hard. I know that's, and I mentioned that, I think, to the point of being impossible. I mention that because that is the dream of a lot of people. There's a lot of people who really wish they could go in there and as they say, fix things. And in many cases, I wish they could too. But that's not a route that's viable. Not for many people. The better answer is, as painful as it is, divorce the thing that you don't like. And I'm using strong emotional words, and that's kind of the problem. It is a business decision. Make no mistake about it. To the publisher, this is a business decision. That's it. It's a pure business. They do not think about you like family. This isn't emotional. It is, at least if they think about it as family, you're not part of that family. Even if you like the comics today, you're not part of that family. But at the end of the day, it is a corporation. You're not owed the comic. You're not owed the character to be the way it was. It's not bait and switch because it's a story you're not in control of. An example would be you buy a brand new Porsche and you're driving it around, and then you take it in for its first maintenance and you discover that, the parts inside are, from a Honda. And you're like, what the hell? And they're like, well, yeah, Porsche just uses Honda parts. You just put a shell on the outside of it. That would feel a bit like a bait and switch. You're buying something on the premise of being a luxury car. Now, maybe nobody told you that these are the parts, but, that's it. Maybe Another example would, a very better example is, you buy something off Amazon, looks really great. You get it in the mail. It's something completely different. You were sold something that wasn't true. In this case, if you're collecting a comic and you have good memories, good feelings about it, cool. If it changes one day, you're not the owner of that comic. The corporation is. They're evolving the story in the way they see fit. It's up to you whether you want to be along for that ride or not. And I think my suggestion to you is, if you hate it, don't be along for that ride. It's it's not helpful to you. I don't know. Again, keep in mind, I don't get that point of view, but I am sympathetic to this. I'm sympathetic to the kind of the frustration of a lot of fans who believe they bought into a character, bought into a comic, and then it changed. And they feel like the corporation, the publisher behind it, doesn't care if they come or they go. In fact, in many cases, it feels like the publisher is almost daring them to go. Like, I know you're hooked. I know you're a collector and you can't help yourself. You're going to stick around. And in many cases, they're right. That's why they keep doing what they're doing. Comic books, kind of like the boiling frog, it's adapted to this idea that it can survive on less. That's tough. If the corporation believes that, hey, there's no reason to get to, regularly selling 250, 300,000 copies, then they're playing with a lowered ceiling. They're playing with a lower bar. It's very hard to tackle that. Make yourself happy first. That's why I do videos saying that. Make yourself happy first. Worry about the rest later. I can seem callous. I can seem cold, but I promise you, if you're bitter and you're angry about where comics have gone, your best recourse for action is to take your money off the table. It won't change things right away. And in many cases, it can be frustrating because you're like, I took my money off the table. Why isn't the company changing? Well, it takes more than just you, but it has to start somewhere. So why not you? If you hate it, stop funding it. At the very least, you'll have more cash to put other places, and you won't at least feel like a sucker. But yeah, you're going to have to divorce these characters in the process. That sucks. Anyway, maybe you could explain. I don't understand the ownership, and it comes up a lot. People like we own these characters. These are our characters. I'm sorry. That's Marvel and DC giving you the illusion that you own those characters. You don't, and you never did. Thanks for listening.